right, and hip circles. Go get bread. And change directions. Slightly wider stance, rotating the pelvis back to drop, pelvis up to come forward. Hands behind the ears to increase the look a little bit. Two more. Last one. Narrowing that stance a bit. Hips rolling back as we sink. Hips coming forward as we raise, lift, and drop the elbows. Hips back as you sink, hips forward as you lift. Two more. Last one. Sorry, wider base. Back flat. Turn and look past the hand. And more of the swoop. Last one. All right, narrowing that stance a bit. Find the hip circle. Rolling the hips around your base. Creating space in the body to roll through. Making sure to complete circle in the hips first. Then allowing the body to relax and counterbalance on top. Two more. Change sides. Again, first couple, focus on a complete circle. Then adding in the swoop. And 2 more. All right, shaking that out for a second. Stepping to the side, piriformis stretch. 1, 3. Good. Sinking the stance, grabbing the ground with the foot, drawing up. Other foot, grab, pull. Head as level as you can. More. Good job. Slightly wider stance. Turn the body to the side, pulling in the belly, concaving the chest, pulling that heel out of the ground, and back. And reset. 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last one. 5. Shake that out. Wider stance. Change sides. Belly drawn. Chest drawn. Pulling that back heel. And in. Reset. 5 more. 3, 4, last one. Good. Shake it out for a moment. We're going to do our ShuiJiao low stance work next. So the very nice and easy outside crescent kick. So to begin with, the free foot comes in front, travels up and over, lands behind, and we sink. Now as we raise up, this heel is going to draw down, kick, and behind, and sink. Raising up nice and slow, take your time, cross that center line, cross it again to the back, and sink for 3. Raise up now, using that heel drop to pull that front hip around, slightly bigger kick now for 4. Stay on the other side. Use the heel drop to pull the foot around. 5. Heel drop. 6. And sink. Heel drop. 7. And sink. 3 more. Heel drop. 8. 2 more. 9. And sink, and 10. Shake it out for 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, from here, stepping back, step up, foot comes across in a figure 4, turn, draw the heel out and step. 1, 2, front leg up in a figure 4, turn to pull. A couple more nice and slow. Front foot comes up, back foot comes behind. And from here, that front foot just slides up, which naturally puts in that figure 4. The pulling of the hip around allows me to draw that foot out and in. 1, 2, figure 4, turn, draw, step. A couple more nice and slow. 1, 2. See as I step up, that front foot just drops into place, turn, and pull. 2 more. Last one. Turn and pull. Good to see you all try one by yourselves. Very nice, Caro. Very nice, Craig. Good, Karen. And Chris, the one thing to work on, Chris, watch my feet. Watch my front leg in particular. See how the foot's crossing my leg. Let the foot hang out there for a second as you turn. And like you're pulling a knife out of a sheath, draw back to step. Let me see, do one more, Chris. Turn to draw, just like that. That was great. That was great because the idea is the person's coming behind this leg. They're trying to throw me back and over. I'm stuck. I can't free my back leg to step. So to get out of it, I twist, pulling my foot up and over the trapping leg, moving myself to freedom. Does that make sense?
I was just about to ask what the application for this is.
Awesome. It is such a beautiful movement. We practice the partner, and I'm so sorry that we can't right now. But again, their legs behind mine, their knee is in the crook of my knee, right? So I can't get that lift. But if I twerk that back hip, I can get that slide with the tibia as I draw the lower leg up and over theirs and draw back. And what's extra special nifty is that there's a lot of potential energy in that drop. As I draw back, I can actually get a hold of them and take them with me and change the whole nature of the interaction. So it's a very, very fun movement. We're going to do 8 of these with a drop, okay? So for that level drop, again, take your time. 1, sinking as I twist. I don't want to stand, twist, and drop. I want to move in a diagonal as I draw in. As I raise up, I'm also arcing up the diagonal. I'm not just standing, I'm turning, drawing into my step. Arc, step, diagonal twist down. Turning, pulling that back shoulder as we diagonal up and out. 6 more. Diagonal to sink, diagonal to raise. Two more. You watch all of you do your last one. It's coming nicely, everybody. Remember, make sure you're pulling the sole of your foot away last, right? It's not just turn. I want to make sure I'm drawing up and over their base. There's a leg right here. I need to get that height and control to clear that obstacle as I draw back. So lastly, on our basic low stance work, there's our slow twist down. Right here again, it's diagonal, it's not just a drop. Drawing the belly in, reaching with the head, neck, twist, 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 pivot to sink. Back around. Find that center, taking time. Diagonal down, what that's going to allow me to do is maintain the slightly wider stance, which helps me to open up my hip a little more. Turn to sink. Turn. Even sink and even rise. So keep it as non-ballistic as possible, controlling the fine muscle groups that allow us to stabilize in this transition. That's 5, we're halfway there. Two more. You watch all of you go back and forth for once. There you go. And that other side. Very nice. So for Chris and Craig, work a little more as you twist. I'll start with this so it's easier to see. As I come around, my knees are going to touch. The back of my front knee is being touched by the front of my back knee. As I continue that twist, I maintain that contact right in that fossa, right in that crease of that front leg as I raise up and come around. That's going to help you open your hips a little more. It's also going to get you used to guarding your groin when you go into stance work, which, again, because China has no issue with groin shots, is always an important thing to work on. Very nice, very nice. Any questions on any of these so far?
The putting the two knees together, that also helps with balancing the structure too. Is that the part of the, okay. I was wondering about that because using all those independent stabilizing muscles for both sides, and it's pretty tiring.
Oh, it's exhausting no matter how you do it, right?
Yeah.
And holding nothing is just the first stage. After that, you want to find a 25-pound weight, and then eventually a 40-pound weight, and continue from there. And ultimately, it's 2 sets of 20, not 1 set of 10. As what we're doing right now in class is just to give you kind of the bare, basic structure so you can go into some more depth later on.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so we're still on topic of legs. Does everyone have access to a chair? This will be my chair. What we're going to work on isn't the height or power of kicking, it's the form of kicking for a few moments here. Okay, so the kick's going to be nice and low. For the sake of learning, I'm just going to target my kick over the low part of the chair. So not even to 90 degrees yet. So everyone, a second to find a friend for that. Perfect. And I apologize, I'm getting a bit of migraines, my vision's going a little, but I will keep teaching unless there's pain. Sound good? Cool.
Oh, bummer. Sorry to hear that.
It's my first one of the quarantine. Like, this is an incredibly awesome between headaches for me. Like,
Do you know the tricks about magnesium and an ice pack on the back of the head, back of the neck?
Would love to talk about that after class because I could use more tricks.
Okay, cool.
Right now my tricks are limited to a cannabis cookie and etc. So.
Oh yeah, cool. That sounds good too.
So the basic trick for what we're going to first, the inside crescent kick, is how to counterbalance the body through motion, okay? And it's going to be a mixture of factors, the shoulders and the hips, the two big ones we're playing with first. And so as I start out with my leg back, I'm going to step up, change my arms. From here, as I pull my arms cross body, I'm going to pull my leg cross body. Hands and legs go back, step back. So every step has a hand movement with it. So again, the back leg steps up, hands switch. Hands cross the body, pulling the leg across the center. Hands switch back, step back. Let's do 3 more on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Good. And now, other side. So again, the leg back, step and switch. Arms, pull the leg. Step, step. Step up, arm switch. Foot cross the center line, arm switch. Step to the side with the switch, step back with a switch. Stepping in, kick, step back. 3 more. In, kick, step back. In, kick, step back. Last one. Good. Now for our buddy, the chair, I have the basic form down. So the chair just helps us to focus this movement. The midpoint of your chair, the top of your chair, you want that to line up with the apex of your kick. And so as I face off my chair, I'm still kicking nice and low, right? So I'll go to the capoeira jinga. I step 1. With this step, I'm stepping cross, my foot is in line with the far leg of the chair, okay? That means as I bring this foot across, I can cover the chair with ease. I step back to the near leg and back in line. I step, foot open at a 45 degree, in line with that far side of the chair, pull my foot over, step, step. Let's see. There we go. So a couple more together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more together. Last one. And all of you that try while I watch. Very nice, Caro. Good, Craig. Good, Chris. And Karen, try to push through your heel a little bit more so you can get a bit more stretch going up into your hip. There you go. Very nice. Very nice. And again, low kicks are fine. Low kicks are better than high kicks in the beginning. You just want to play with the pattern through the body. Let's try the other side. Step, kick, step, back. Step, kick, step, back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more together. And a couple by yourselves. Very nice, Chris. Use the change of the arms to pull the foot back into position. So the arms lead the kick out, the arms lead the kick back. There, very nice. Keep that upper to lower opposite twist at play through every part of this movement. Very good. 2 more for everyone. Very nice, Karen. Using the shoulder pull to draw the hip into action. Very nice, Craig. Okay, shake it out for a second, all of you. So, this opposite body movement is really useful, especially as they get more power through the leg. If I stand here, I try to do an inside crescent kick, there's a lot of stabilization that has to happen. You see how Pierce pulls me off that grounding foot, especially if I add any oomph to it. With the arms at play, everything is balanced all the way through. I'm balanced in my step. I'm balanced as I kick. I'm balanced as I go back to stance. And I'm balanced as I return to whatever motion I want to do next, right? Secondarily, it's really, really good for the knees because all this twisting movement is forcing my leg to stabilize in a variety of kind of funky positions. And playing with that a bunch helps the knee to learn how to make micro adjustments and track. So it does put weird pressure on the joint as you move into new situations. So inside crescent work in combination with stance work is my favorite combinations to create a stronger joint and create a lower probability of injury.
That's cool. That's like the opposite of the problem that happens when people use machines for strength training. They only train in one really limited range of motion. And then they're weak like 2 degrees to either direction.
And it's almost comical, right? In that one track, they're so powerful. And you create any alteration at all, yeah, just it goes away. And that's the joy of Kung Fu and Capoeira, is that it's all that body resistance and mechanical work. And so it really teaches you how to find these stabilization points and be used to things when they don't happen exactly as you plan them. And so when I bring Capoeira into our classes for our Kung Fu morning workout, it's gonna be things like this, like the tricks that have really helped my body become stronger and more stable in everything that I do. Any questions about the inside crescent work? Cool. This is a great one. If you do, 20 of these a day, 10 per leg, it's going to start paying you really nice dividends. And then once you get comfy, you can add more, power through the hip, which is starting from the shoulders. That cross body draw, the same thing we use in Kung Fu. That will help you to achieve more height, open up the hamstrings, get more space in the body. It all kind of builds, nice and smooth from there. All right. So we're good on that one so far? Sweet. Next up. Yes, Carol?
Oh, yeah. So the hands go to the side that you're either stepping forward or stepping.
The hands will always reach opposite of the active leg.
Okay.
Right? So if I step out, my foot's back, my hands are forward. I kick, my leg crosses, arms cross other way. Step back, opposite, step back, opposite yet again.
Okay.
And when you get more comfortable, it becomes, a very minute little movement. But you can see how that twist is still there, even as I draw my arms in to become more fluid, you know, and higher reaching with my foot. The mechanics still exist. I just have to show them less. Just like in Kung Fu, we start big circle to learn, smaller and smaller circles to get proficient.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to do a couple of minutes of work with inversion right now, okay? We're going to work towards our handstands. And we're going to start by getting comfortable on our hands. The first thing, we're going to find a spot so we can stretch the wrists out a little. So fingertips going forward. Fairly close to our knees. You want less pressure on the hands. A little bit further if you want more pressure. From here, we're going to do just 5 slow circles around the wrists. And we're going to change directions. Nextly, rotating the hands outward such that the fingertips are pointing towards your knees. And then once again, 5 slow circles. All around the wrists. Changing directions. Okay. With the thumb and forefinger facing forward, grabbing the wrist, squeezing the carpals, creating a little bit of space as you wiggle the hand. Reversing that grip, same thing. Squeezing in those 2 little crooks of the wrist. You're squinching those gliding, sliding joints. So little movement to create space, allows you to pop back in. Switch sides, squidge, and just move to allow the wrist to reset. Facing the other way with the hand, same deal. Okay, hands together, stretching down, fingertips pointing up. Fingertips pointing down, elbows dropping as the wrists raise slightly. Good. So there are a couple of tricks for inversion before we get started. The first of which is the contact point of the hand. The more my weight comes forward, the more control I have, the better I can modulate. The more the weight drops back, the less space I have to control, and the more likely I'm to fall back down to my feet. And so for a good handstand, you want the weight from about mid-palm forward to the fingertips, okay? The next thing is you don't just stabilize the shoulders, right? You stabilize your core. And so when we start going upside down, the belly draw to the spine is important. You also want to feel the same engagement with the quads that you would in low stance, okay? And so we're not going to start with a high handstand. Rather, we're going to start out with our hands on the ground, feet together like this, as you can see. I'm going to raise one leg like this, and then scissor to my other foot, dropping that foot down. And we're going to do 10 of these, and the goal isn't to go for height, it's to go for a feeling of weight in the shoulders. I want to feel myself pushing into the ground. I want to feel that weight rock forward on my hands, and then rock back down. As I get more comfortable, I'm going to start engaging that umbilicus. And once I bring that belly online, the handstand's going to hold much more naturally. Let's try 5 more of those. Just scissoring the legs. 1, 2. You want to be controlled going up, controlled going down. Height doesn't matter. We want nice, relaxed, straight legs. There you go. Good, just hopping from foot to foot for right now. Very nice. Feel the weight in the hands, then feel it dissipate. 2 more. Good. Watching me for a second. That's a great start. So now, face away, more easily. As I kick up in the beginning, all I'm trying to do is land soft and controlled. Both legs are straight. Because if they arc, it's hard to gauge where I'm in space. The straight leg is easier to track because it raises and falls, okay? Let's try 5 more of these. Straight legs, raise and switch, raise and switch. Very nice, Craig. Good, Karen. There you go, Chris. Straight leg pulls you up, straight leg drops you down. When you get to 5, take a break. Excellent, excellent. Handstands are wonderful for internal Gong Fu because they show you where these connections are to find stabilization and inversion. Those same connections are useful when we go back onto our feet side. And so it's really useful to get comfortable in every way that you can hold your body. If your wrists are sore after, the same squidge and roll is really nice. If you want an awesome handstand, I would say do 10 to 20 of what we just did every day. Once you get more comfortable and more used to pushing in the ground, we'll play with this periodically in class, you'll get to a point where the body is right over your shoulders and you'll feel almost weightless. But you don't want to jump into that. You want to make sure that you have the muscular control to get out of it first. Which is why we do these very, very light hops. They'll gradually build and build into a full handstand. Sound good? Awesome.
For those who are closer to 70, be really careful about too much inversion.
Right.
All of those people who are here are pretty close to 70, okay?
We're all moving that direction, Craig. Every one of us, ideally. And again, even if you're close to 70, start slow, start light, make it as unjolty as possible, and you can still build gradually towards more and more stabilization upside down. So, any questions for me before we go on? All right. Are we feeling more legs or arms today? Any requests?
Legs.
Legs, okay. Legs it is. Let's do some hip circles. Finding some space. Externally rotating the right leg. We're just going to do 30-second sets of this today because we've all done a bunch of them. We don't want to get stuck in it for the rest of the class. And other leg, externally rotating. From here, rolling right into our figure 8, draw back in and through. We're going to do a minute of the figure 8s. So take your time, feel that circle. Once that circle feels good, we're going to start playing with how the various engaging principles we utilize can change that feel in the body, starting with that foot grab. As the foot grab comes online, feel what muscles in your legs begin to activate. If you can't notice much of a difference, you can kind of go back and forth between foot grab and foot release, foot grab and foot release. What I notice is in the foot release, I don't really feel much engagement to the musculature of my upper leg. I feel a lot of movement in my knee and tracking with my lower leg muscles. As I begin to grab, I start to feel the adductors, muscles on the inside of my thigh, begin to engage and pull as I draw side to side. When I release, that adductor engagement vanishes. As I engage again, it starts to draw back in and become part of the picture. From there, I want to feel that movement enter my belly, right? But if I have any kind of posterior pelvic tilt, like I have backwards tilt in the pelvis, the abdominal muscles kind of elongate and disengage, and all this movement is purely in my legs. You watch my posture as I go slow. I have no abdominal engagement. I bring it in just a little. It's almost an imperceptible shift of moving my hips, but it's enough that now my belly's engaged, and I can feel this rotation draw from those adductor muscles in my inner thigh into the region around my umbilicus and around the idea of the dantian. So now that I have proper pelvic alignment and engaged in the ground, that movement to the ground is reflected in my stomach. But if you notice, if the head neck isn't raising, it kind of stops there, right? As I elongate the head neck, Now that movement begins to permeate upwards, right, through my ribs, to my costal muscles, and eventually becoming accessible on the front of my shoulders. And then relax those principles, let go of the feet, belly, and head neck. See how all this kind of vanishes in the torso? Grabbing with the feet again, and the belly, and the head, neck, and that power begins to draw up and through. And so what we're studying here is how do we create a structure where we can draw movement from the ground and make it accessible to any part of our body, right? And we can also see that a very small postural shift can eliminate that potential. And so part of the challenge for all of us, you and myself included, is how do we make every movement full of this kind of quality, right? How do we allow every single move we do in our Gong Fu to have this draw from the ground, this roll around the Dantian that then becomes cascading and accessible to the shoulders. And the trick I found, at least for my practice, is when I get lost, I go back to the thing that I know has it, which is this figure eight. So if I do my Tai Chi form, I'll get to a hard section, I might get stumbled for a few moments, I'll take a break, I'll do a minute of this, and then once I feel really comfortable with that coil, I'll try to bring that into the Tai Chi and go back and forth until I answer that question, all right? So now, going on to internal rotation, right leg, coiling inward. Playing with that round to in, drawing circles around the feet. First few circles again are nice and relaxed. Migraine day. As you get more comfortable, we begin to add in that foot grab and belly draw. And again, the single leg is just more to kind of play that vague idea of how those engagements shift that body feel and the head neck lift. Switching to the other leg, loosening up the joints the first few revolutions. If things feel good and loose, start playing with the grab of the ground and the draw of the stomach. From here, begin playing with that figure eight. Find the shape first. Again, the shape for the internal rotation is a lot more tricky than it is for his external partner. So it's okay to play with that amplitude of movement, to shift into positions that may not be Kung Fu perfect, but just allow you to feel that movement and rotation in your pelvis. Once the roll feels well-defined and some ease begins to come into the motion, then start adding those limiting factors and pay attention to that muscular shift again. So as we grab with the feet, how does that change the feel up through the mid-leg and into those adductors? With internal rotation, I feel a bit more involvement of my vastus lateralis, the muscle here on the outside of the patella. But there's still that adductor quality as I arc into the innermost part of the coil and draw around. And so the engagements aren't as simple as one muscle doing one thing. It's a number of muscles being involved, and the more you slow down and play with it, the better you can identify where those muscles are and how they begin to link into each other. From there, same thing with that pelvic shift. As I draw the umbilicus in, the goal isn't just to flex my tummy, it's to create a structure that can hold my pelvis in true neutral. I'm not tucking the tailbone under and up. I'm not creating that hyperlordosis. I just have a nice neutral pelvis. And from there, I can feel that upper leg movement begin once again to innervate my middle. And if the body feel gets muddled, I can just drop back to baseline, where I'm not engaging anything, I'm just rolling. From there, feet first, I can get the legs back online, belly second, belly's back online, and then I'm right back where I want to be. As I lift the head neck at the occiput, at that bony protuberance, the back of the skull, I create space in my cervical vertebra, those neck vertebra. That space allows me to draw this feeling up and make it accessible for my arms. If I want to really feel that, I need to concave the chest slightly by knitting those clavicles together just a bit, splaying the scapula just a bit. And now all of a sudden, each turn is reflecting and changing up through my body, into my shoulders, lifting through my head, neck, towards the ceiling. And relax for a moment. Does that idea of linking the muscles together and kind of paying attention to that body feel make sense to all of you? Like, is that a concept that you can work with yet?
Yeah, I feel like the descriptions of the hip rotation are getting more and more complex, and this is really helpful.
Awesome, awesome. Does anyone feel lost by just the muscles I'm talking about? If so, it's okay. I'm happy to break it down in a different way.
A little bit, really, but that's more personal. Like, I can feel like my left back muscle is a little bit more tense than my right, so I can't get as smooth of a internal rotation arc to create the figure eight, but that's more personal than anything else. My body can't do it just yet.
Right, right. And for that kind of thing, it's just a matter of, pay attention to the side that feels better, learn from it, and try to mimic that on the side that doesn't feel as good. We all have a more rapid learning and a less rapid learning side. It's just, part of how everything I've ever had in my own body works. It's the way we are. We always want to keep that better side as a model. Yeah. When I talk about these descriptors, is it helpful to use the appropriate terminology and then a loose description together? Does that kind of make it easier to get what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I feel like the leveling of the pelvic alignment is a lot more helpful, because every time I think about this, I think about Haigui, and usually I'm trying to get that slight pelvic tuck, which is incorrect, and it's causing more problems. So this is some very helpful editorials. I think it's really helpful.
Cool. And one last thing, the point of Haigui, the reason why I'm not teaching Haigui right now is because everyone was struggling with this base component of it, right?
I still
it takes a while. And so my hope is, in the next month or two, when we all have a better feel for rotation and the muscles that are involved, then we can go back into the kind of free-form jazz movement of Haigui and have more success there.
I wanted to share just my understanding of the path when we're talking about an inside rotation and a figure eight. It seems that inside rotation, so if I'm starting with my left, so then it's going to into the left, it's going to go around here and then in from the right, around here and in. So that would be the figure eight. Is that correct?
That's correct. So as I draw around, in, my hips are at that angle, I hit this 50-50 weightedness as I roll the leg around and in, around and in. And a pity bump for a full revolution is an opening and closing of that inguinal space, right? Here, as I draw back, you can see the crease in my pants, right? There's a heavy closing of that inguinal. Here, everything opens. Close, open, right? And so I want to make sure I'm thinking of that opening and closing of the qua like an opening and closing of a door. And so now when I go into, say, a movement from a form, as I roll through, I can feel where the qua is open, where the qua is closed, and I can begin to utilize that as the initial movement of the pulse becomes a bigger movement, right? Because again, all fa li is predicated on opening and closing of a qua. It doesn't matter if it's going from closed to open or open to close, you can have a fa li, but you have to have that well-delineated movement on that hinge to accelerate that movement up, make it accessible in the middle, and have that proper track for full body movement.
And in this, it's subtler because we're not doing the kobu and the baibu.
Right, and also by that same
very obvious.
As you go into your kobu baibu, now you not only have that closing step, right? Here's an empty closing step, right? There's nothing behind that.
Right.
The idea of the qua is going to close, the qua is going to open, the qua closes, the qua opens. The foot is incidental and reflective of what's happening here. The foot isn't the guiding, star of the movement.
Yeah.
Does that clarify a little bit?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Again, all this stuff is so fundamental that if you have any questions about any clarification, please always feel free to ask. There's no amount of detail that is too fine to help you all get through this part. All right, we all doing okay so far? Sweet.
Yeah, it's all been great for me.
Cool, cool. And as always, if I ever get too stuck in the weeds, you're always welcome to pull me out because again, I love to play there.
I like the weeds.
We're going to do a little bit of work where snake creeps down to open up qua, and then we're going to do a very challenging side-to-side chung exercise to open up dong. Again, kwa is that inguinal groove. Dong is that track in the back of the leg. Both are essential for appropriate hip movement from a gong fu perspective. So for kwa, we're going to do our chunk style snake creeps down. We're going to start with the hand, fingertips up. From here, I'm going to pivot my hand until the fingertips reach for the ground. And again, I'm almost achieving lockout through the 3 joints of the wrist, elbow, shoulder, such that if someone were to push on this arm, the movement would transfer really smoothly into my core. And that's important because this press helps me to stabilize the knee on which I'm putting all of my weight. And so if I don't have this arm and I'm here, my knee can track anywhere and might be in a position that's not so healthy for the joint. This twist and push out to the shoulder helps me to twist and push out to the hip, which in turn helps the knee to track right. From there, thumb side up, I'm creeping down, lifting, pivoting my front hand and foot. So the foot turns out, hand turns in. That crossbody movement gives me essentially a post that I pivot around and press past. I step out, hips open to the front center of my circle yet again, making sure my twist is there, creeping down. It doesn't need to be low initially, right? So make it precise. Pivoting the hand in and the foot out as I step around that foot, pressing, stepping, making sure that twist is still present as I sink down. Also, as I sink, I really want to make sure my pelvis is right in line. This right here is a really good position for snake creeps through. This, even though it's much deeper, isn't doing anything to help my quad. All I'm doing is leaning. And so it doesn't matter how flexible you are today, try to maintain a body position that will help you become more flexible as you continue to train tomorrow. Reaching through, pivot, wrap that post, stepping out, palm of the hand facing away from the thigh, press, lift, pivot, kobu, step around, press, step out to the side, hand and foot shift, step around that foot, step out to the side, hand and foot shift, step around the foot, out to the side, hand and foot shift, dako, big ko, open the hips and through, and do 2 more on your own going the same direction. Good, take your time in the dive, Craig. Feel the hips fill, feel the weight transfer side to side. There you go, Chris. Maintain that umbilical draw. Try to feel yourself tracking with those hips in that nice neutral position. Don't worry if the stance is higher than you ideally have it. That's much, there you go, Chris. Yep, keep those hips in. Good. And Karen. Very nice. Hand and foot shift, kobu, good. Now as you step out, Karen, take time to feel those hips in balance. Make sure that pelvis is nice and neutral. As you creep down, if my hips are still in the process of kind of adapting and opening to this movement, I might only get my reach down to my knee. From there, so you can see my front foot more easily, if I get to this point, that's fine. Notice how, as I face towards the camera, there's a stretch going through my hips as I roll in, even if my stance isn't very deep. And as I play with that movement, I'm kind of massaging the edges of my range of flexibility, and I'm feeling that all in the hip socket, not in the low back where I'm compromising the spine. And so in those early phases, it's much, much better to have a very high stance where you can feel that movement traverse through that quad rather than to try to get deeper and put the movement in your back and take it out of the hips. Okay?
Yeah, I wasn't perceiving that hip rotation toward the front leg before. Thank you.
Of course, and it's a lovely kind of stretch. You're not hammering into the joint. You're just rolling around the edges of your comfortable flexible zone. And over time, that will gradually increase your flexibility. And you'll all have butts to the ground in no time with this. Okay, in amount of time. One more this side, and I'll change directions. All right, so other hand, again, I always start fingertips up because the process of that twist and coil is instrumental to the body feel of that lockout that's going to stabilize and protect my far knee, right? If I push out like this, the joints are kind of slack. If I press and twist, that combination creates the lock that I can use to find a vector of movement. From here, hand and foot turn, pulling the weight up, da ko, big kobu, and step out. If you're relatively new to this, start again, re-rotate the hand, check your pelvis, sink and roll through, hand and foot turn, step around, create the appropriate position, spot check the shoulder and the hip, spot check as you roll through. Again, making sure the umbilical draw is there. I can even kind of take my hands and make sure that I can feel my lumbar engaged in the right position, my QRLs nice and taut, as opposed to here where all that kind of goes slack as I sink through to lift.
Could you spell out that the foot, what's changing with the foot? It's a little hard to see your foot sometimes. And
Totally. So from the press, my foot turns a little in the direction that I want to go. As I raise up, the foot turns out and the hand turns in.
Oh, okay. They're not turning the same direction.
Right. And the reason that's important is if I turn the same direction, now there's no real stable structure. If you step around, my balance gets all wonky, right? The opposite movement of out to in creates an inverse opposite coil there. And that creates almost like a pillar, like a vector pillar that can pull my body around and stay stable as I step.
Yeah, I think that was confusing because with the other work we've done with Kobu, the hand and the foot are closing together. So I was like, this doesn't feel very stable as I close my foot. Okay, that totally makes sense.
Is the kick we were doing, right? You want that opposite body movement to create a stable post. If everything's going in one direction, you're going to naturally fall and teeter in that direction. The opposite movement gives you a focal point for balance, and everything can slowly build around that.
Okay, thanks.
Of course, yeah. Let's try a couple more of these on our own. Good, Craig. Push the arm out before you sink. Press, then shoot. So that, I mean, pushing out with that stable arm, that creates the framework of the stable pressing arm half of the body, right? All of this is held by this coil of the shoulder. Then as the snake creeps down, you see how as I draw down here, that creates the body drop. And then my torso follows that hand as it rolls through. Rolling, twisting opposite, pulling around to press, unfolding the body, rolling, twist, coil, and continue. And just two more of these. Very nice, Karen. Much better position for the hips. There you go, Craig. Good push. Good. Nice weight shift, Craig. And last one for Chris. Very nice, Chris. Only for this one, unlike in Liang where we have that press to lift, for the chunk version, maintain that pressing hand as we go through. It's only in the coil that backhand melts around to step out again. So Chris, do one more, then we'll go on to the back of the leg opener. Keep that press, Chris, keep the push. Chris, keep that far push the whole time. There you go. Keep that push. Push, push, push. That's it, yep. If Master Ni were with you, he'd be holding your hands like this, twisting your arm at an uncomfortable angle, kicking you in the ribs and yelling at you to push harder. That's the, Beijing Bagua way. So for the Dong exercise, with the feet in a nice wide stance. We're going to bring the toes parallel on the lateral aspect of the foot. I'm just going to draw the weight side to side. In a side body view. Engage my belly, try to maintain that pelvic engagement, pulling my weight side to side. We're going to start nice and slow. Sinking into Mabu, sinking into that horse. Pull the weight back to neutral. Pull the weight. Neutral, draw. Neutral, draw. Let's do 10 more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 more. 9, lastly. 10, stand, and then gently bring those legs back together. Shaking that out for a moment. Let's come back together before we call class. So, Dong and Kwa are essential components of training. But just because they're essential doesn't mean they need to be great today, right? And again, I've mentioned this before. When I first went to Beijing, I have a lordosis issue, a posterior pelvic tilt issue I've had since I was a child. Someday I'll post old Kung Fu videos myself. We can all drink beer and laugh together. It really, really hampered my progress. And it wasn't until my 3rd trip to Beijing, when I became a serious student of my teachers there, that they taught me Da Bei Chuan, kind of the precursor to Tai Chi that I teach. And that Master Ni started really torturing me with the same exercises I'm showing all of you right now. And it wasn't easy, and it wasn't the most fun part of my day. But that kind of transferring of weight through that low creeping stance is the #1 thing that opened my hips. I stretch for an hour every night, and this in 5 minutes is more for my flexibility than that hour of stretching. It's absolutely phenomenal work. The key to it is just not to get hurt as you play with it. And for that, go slow. Don't go low initially. Make sure that the scaffolding of the movement is secure and feels good before you add pressure into the joints. If you have questions about that, I'm always happy to break down that information more to make sure that's really accessible and really clear as you play. But again, if you want more open hips, this is the prescriptive series of movements to work with that. There's the hip circles, going into the snake creeps down, and the dong exercises, and done repetitiously, you should have pretty good success. Any questions?